Hi, Cardin Mentors. My name is Rabbi Dinovitzer, and I want to start by thanking you so much for being willing to be a part of our amazing program. But let's get right to it. You don't have a lot of time. I wanted to give you some talking points on the topic of confronting failure, which I know some of you are doing this coming week. First of all, it starts with an amazing speech that J.K. Rowling gave. I believe it was to Harvard at their graduation or something like that. And her story is just like worth reading because look, she was near homeless. You know, her entire life falling to pieces, and she had nothing going on except she said, maybe I'll try and write this story. And the next thing you know, she's Harry Potter and she's a mega millionaire. So there, she begins talking about how failure was actually the catalyst to get her going. When she hit rock bottom and she realized this is not going to work, this is not going to work, I have to strip away everything and find just what's essential at my core that I'm still maybe good at. And she found her writing, and that was everything. That's certainly worth talking about. And then, of course, ask the kids, has this ever happened to you, where you found yourself at a rock bottom and blah, blah, blah. And then also, by the way, you could talk about your own. If you were at one time you had a rock bottom, you were fired from a job, and you thought, oh my gosh, that's the end of my life, and it actually made you look for something else. I don't know if this happened to all of you, but that's a fantastic talking point also. And you can talk about a medical situation where you were at a low, and then family members came through, and you realized your greatest treasure is your family, and how failure actually helped you. That's part one of the talk. Two next topics right after that are the topics of where in your quote, it's on page 101. The quote there on page 101 says that the Torah is referred to as the stumbling block. Now that sounds crazy. You could ask them, why would the Torah, this great guidebook of our Judaism, be called a stumbling block? And that's because, you see, Torah is exactly the concept of tonight's topic. You read a passage of Torah, you don't understand it, you say, I can't even figure out what this means. What on earth is going on here? You delve into it, you ask friends, you speak to the rabbi, you look up some sources, and before you know it, that first feeling of, I don't even understand what this means, actually became your deeper understanding of the thing, and the failure became the success. So, Torah, as you stumble in it and say, I don't understand this. What is the point of this thing we're reading? I have a question on it. That's the stumbling that leads you to your greatness. And then, of course, the next quote right after it, also on page 101, is Lefum Tzara Agra, which means according to uh, the effort is the reward. Same kind of thing. You bang your head against the wall. You try really hard. You feel like you're going nowhere, and then you find out that wow, that going nowhere was actually everything for me. And then you should talk about personal examples again with the kids and with you. You may say it works that way with me with diets. I fail, but then I or I start exercise regimens. You know, one time I started an exercise regimen, and can I tell you what happened? Actually, the last day when I was ready to quit, that's the day that blah, blah, blah. Hopefully, you have something to say like that. Prepare one in advance. Or maybe the NCS Wires will tell you one, and you get them talking on that about how the rock bottom, the feeling like I'm banging my head against the wall, I'm not getting anywhere, that actually led to your success. Next on page 102 is that famous Ramban that talks about how, you know, when God tested Abraham, you may want to tell them the story. It's called the Akedah. You know, where he said, I want you to sacrifice your son Yitzchak. And he says, sacrifice him? Yes, I will. And then he's about to do it, and God says, wait, stop. I was just testing you. So God knows the future. God knows what Avram's going to do. Why is that even called a test? God even knows the future. But you see, the point is, Avraham had never brought out that greatness in himself until he was put to the test. So God tests good people, puts in front of them stumbling blocks or things that it looks like they can't get past, and then they do get past them, and that's actually their building point. Again, same theme as what we're saying all throughout this discussion, is that your hurdle, your stumbling block, was actually what made you even greater. Let's move on. Okay, and then of course, last thing in our sources is that sentence that says, Sheva yipol tzadik v'kam. A righteous person falls down 7 times and stands up. Now, what you might think that really teaches us is that, oh, you know, good people try to do something, bump into a hurdle, fall down, but they keep getting up. Well, that's true. That's true. And that is already part of what we're saying in this packet. But the next important point and that's the Pachad Yitzchak, that Rav Hutner quote that you see at the bottom of page 103, that piece right there is telling you that those getting ups, those falling downs and getting ups, they're actually the greatness. You get your greatness from those moments when you fall and get back up. Same theme again. And now what I'm going to do is add a couple of points for additional discussion, just in case you need some more. So hang on. Additional points that I now want to add. This is my own additional point, not in your booklet, which you may want to talk about. On Pesach night, we eat the bitter herbs, and that's to remember all the bitterness that the Jews went through. Sounds like, okay, they went through bitterness, so we eat bitter herbs. But it's a little crazy if you think about it. You want to remember that the bitterness that the Jews had, so you eat bitter food? I mean, why not like pick up bricks and put them on your shoulder, or why not tell the story about their bitterness? How does putting a bit of horseradish in your mouth do anything? That's my question. And my favorite answer to that question is because what we're exemplifying here is that not like we're not creative and we don't know how to show bitterness, so we say, I don't know, just eat something bitter. It's deeper than that. When you take a piece of bitterness and eat it, you're showing that when I ran into bitterness, I didn't just leave it on the table and look at it. I put it in my mouth. It went into my stomach. It nourished my body. So what's nourishment? I put the horseradish inside of me, or the romaine lettuce inside of me, and I nourished myself from the bitterness. Do you get that? The hardship, which at the time seemed like a horrible, horrible thing, it nourished me. So that kids should see that failure is not like, oh no, my whole plan is bust. When you have failure, you actually come out more mature on the other side of failure. You ingest it, you digest it, it becomes a part of your being, and you're stronger after that. The classic, I'm going to give you an example of it. You may want to talk about this too. The time that you fall down, or you watched your own child fall down and they scrape their knee, and you just cuddled them and kissed them and got them a Band-Aid and put it on. And I guess that was okay when your child was 2, but then there are parents doing that for their child when they're 6, when they're 8, when they're 10, when they're 12. And then it starts to go backwards. When your kid is 10 and he falls down, you could say to him, oh, I feel so bad. Hey, there's Band-Aids upstairs. Why don't you go get yourself a Band-Aid? Now, that might sound cruel, but that's actually a growing moment for your child when you say, go get yourself a Band-Aid, go wash it off, and you actually tell the child, you scraped your knee. Deal with it yourself. You're going to grow from that instead of coddling the 8-year-old, the 10-year-old, the 12-year-old, the 14-year-old. At some point, you have to say to a child as he grows, I see. I feel bad. So what I suggest is go get yourself a Band-Aid and wash off your cut. That's a growing moment where failure becomes strength for the youngster. More talking points for you if you want to. Go look up a video. You can YouTube it. You would find it under Michael Jordan Failure. And he has a beautiful talk there, lasts about 2.5 minutes, where he basically says, 26 times I took the game-winning shot and missed. 300 times I blah, 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 and failed. 100 times I blah, 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 and da-da-da-da. And that's why I'm great. That's what the great Michael Jordan says. The 26 shots where I was given the game-winning throw and missed, that's where I actually became great. Because what you do is you fail, and then you pick yourself back up, and you become stronger and say, I'm not going to make that same mistake again. And lastly, one more talking point. There's the famous Rav Nosson Tzvi Finkel, who passed away a few years ago. He was the Rosh Yeshiva of the Mir Yeshiva. 7,000 students under him. And he was an amazing leader and all that. But the part that everyone remembers the most about him was that he had Parkinson's disease. And he shook like a leaf. And in that really, really wild shaking, he walked everywhere and talked to crowds everywhere. His hat fell off while he was talking. He was so unbelievably trembly. And that looks like a failing, right? And that is actually how people remember him, the man that pushed through everything. People looked at him and they said, oh my gosh, that guy with Parkinson's disease who can barely get his hat to stay on his head because he's so shaky is up here speaking in front of 5,000 people. And that was like the most giant hurdle, and he overcame it. And people watched this man overcoming his hurdles at every minute of his life. And that's how people remember his greatness. It spurred many, many thousands of other people to try to aspire to his greatness by saying, if he has Parkinson's and he can do that, then I, who am healthy, wow, I should be able to do this. So failure became his physical failure became one of his most giant selling points. And you'll see that all over the web. People who have no arms. There's a guy if you want to find it on YouTube, you can just type in "guy with no arms, no legs." He goes around giving motivational speeches everywhere for hundreds and hundreds of young people. He has no arms, no legs. Talk about failures and hurdles. And he is yet a great motivational speaker, just giving you more talking points of things you might want to talk about with the teens. Thank you again for being a Cardin mentor. If you have any other questions on how to present this well, you're welcome to contact me also. Best contact for me is rabbid@ncsy.org. Looking forward to hearing from you. Bye-bye.